Internet folks are joining us now. In terms of 4 principles, last one. To be a successful motivational leader, you got to have a plan. You may write it down, you may not. Okay, it kind of depends. Let me get us down to the Kennedy assassination before we go any further. Oh, it's out. Your boss may make you write it down. Stop saying Your boss may not make you write it down. It's got to be dynamic. It's got to be able to flex and change with the workplace. Now, again, we're teaching from a general industry and a construction perspective here. So whatever plan you got to be able to roll with how that company is actually working. Make sense? Okay? That's a 4th actual principle in terms of setting good goals. How am I going to get to plan B? Well, I'm plan A to plan B. Got to take into consideration the universality of people and situations. I think I've said it already in here. All people on any construction site or in general industry are all the same. True or false? False and a half. Okay? What motivates one, don't let me screw you up on the test, what motivates one may be demotivating to another. That's fancy lingo for it may not motivate somebody. What motivates one may not motivate another. True? True. Okay, all right, we agree. In other words, to motivate people, your plan's got to be flexible. Everybody's going to start wearing full body harnesses tomorrow, and if I don't catch you for wearing a full body harness, then I'm going to fine you $150 on the spot per our company policy that I just wrote. You going to be popular? What about the people working on the ground? Why do they need a full body harness? Because he said he's going to fine us $150. Are they motivated? Nah, they're just doing it because that idiot safety Nazi with the spiky hair said so. Okay, so that does not mean that they're all going to do it. You got to be flexible. And you got to say, if we have a change in the workplace or if your job does not apply to this position, then I'm not going to get you involved in any kind of write-up. My goal is not to collect fines. My goal is not to actually write you up. And usually, I don't know about you guys, I say fines. The internet may say, well, it's illegal to fine people. Well, that's company policy. They can deduct it from your paycheck. True? That's, money is a motivator or a demotivator. And when you deduct it from their paycheck, what usually happened in Kentucky is they quit when they were in construction because there's 5 other construction companies they go work for that won't do that. So you got to be flexible and understand that some of these things will work and some of these things won't in terms of getting them to be safe. That's the whole goal. Okay? I don't have anything other than fingers and toes and everybody going home. That's my goal in terms of doing this stuff, and be flexible when you do that. What's the environment? Everything that surrounds you is your environment. I know you use your word, duh, I knew that. But we exist in what we call, for your test, micro-motivational environments. This applies especially to general industry or to construction. Okay? The micro-motivational environments make up the sum total of our motivational environment and are comprised of, here we go, for test, work environment, family environment, social environment. Give me an example. What's social environment? What is it?
Converse with each other, work.
Okay, good. Excellent. Right? What else? What do you do on your phones that I catch you doing on all the time?
Social media.
That's right. Social media. Twitter. The U.S. president uses Twitter a lot. Okay? So that's a social environment thing. Okay? Team environment. What's that? What's team environment?
The immediate people to work with.
That's right. Immediate people that are in your department, if you're in general industry, or if you're in construction, that one team of bricklayers who can put up a wall in less than 4 hours. Okay? And if that one member of that team gets misplaced, screws up the whole work situation. Okay? And that motivation may decrease as a result of that. You got peer environment. Now that's a tricky one. Okay? What's peer environment?
Your buddies. Your buddies.
Your buddies, exactly. Okay? Hey man, in high school, this is what I used to go through. This is what I used to wear. I used to teach, we've all had to teach drugs class, just so you know. Okay? I've never done a drug, don't drink, never drug, don't any of that stuff. I've been in a lot of bands where I've been offered every drink and every drug on the planet, but I don't ever do any of that stuff. Long story. You get an alcoholic in your family, you have a different outlook on these things. But in terms of when I go to high school, say, hey man, I want to smoke a little while outside the shop. And they'd say, the smoking area in our high school, I was just talking about it last hour. You want to come with us? No. Why? Because I know what you're smoking, first of all. And second, I don't want to get any kind of a contact high, and I don't want to get in trouble for smoking with you. When they're encouraging smoking, because right outside the lunchroom, there's the smoking sign. Now you go back to my high school these days, guess what's there? Basketball court. And it's a smoke-free campus. Now that means they'll never smoke there, true or false?
That's so true.
Yeah. Dream world. Hi God, how you doing? In heaven maybe. No, in real life it's not like that. They'll sneak it, like I told my last hour was. I've caught them many times on construction sites. They're going to do it eventually, somewhere. What I used to say when we teach drugs class is, those who get involved in drug involvement, or doing drugs, OD, become a junkie, the highest tier, or the lowest, whatever you want to look at it as, Breaking Bad, okay, in terms of that stuff, who are they influenced most by to get involved in drugs?
Peers.
Their peers. And more than one student who has cleaned up their act and come in and finished our degree, and I've had many who have been my advisees said, they say, I know I made a bunch of bad grades over at whatever school XYZ it was. I had a bad outlook. I was running with the wrong crowd. I was doing stuff I shouldn't have done. I've cleaned up my act since then. I was lucky enough, God bless, to not have a felony when that happened. But I got all those negative people out of my life. Your peers can influence your behavior. True? Okay? And that means that they're working at around the same level or approximately the same level you are, or they're just friends of yours who happen to be right at your level, your age bracket, for example. Okay? The highest motivator for drug use we teach, and the book says that, if you don't believe me, go pull it and look it up, is peer pressure. Okay? That's a big thing. And on a work site, if one guy takes off his hard hat or his harness, guess what the rest of them are liable to do? As soon as I go around the corner, that's what's going to happen. Okay? So peer pressure is a big one. Even a non-functional environment. What does that mean? That means that I get up, I say all the safety stuff, and then I put the paper down, and we go do work, and nobody does anything safe. A non-functional environment. Management says get this done, and we get it done because they say so. And we have nothing to say about safety, we don't even care. Okay? Now, true false on your test, big time important. This is culture. Wherever you work, choose your company wisely. Any one of these that we're talking about, these environments, any one of the microenvironments can have an impact on the other. So I'm going to make it easy for you because we're short on time, okay? In terms of, let's say, work environment and family environment. How can family environment affect work environment? What is it?
A death in the family.
Ooh, excellent, fantastic. You've got to leave work. True? Hopefully, I mean, if you care, I don't care if you died, somebody else take care of it. Okay, maybe, okay. But yes, that has an effect on that, and usually you take time off. And that means somebody else has got to fill your position, be it in general industry or in construction. So a death in the family, and that's just for taking care of the funeral and all the stuff that goes along with it. What about after? Does the grieving process stop at the funeral? No. The worker becomes somewhat distracted. True or false? True, because you don't, if it's a family member, you don't take that easily, right? Okay? Now, let's do another one real quick. Peer environment, because I said that was a big one. How can peer environment affect your social environment? It's tricky because it could be one and the same. Okay? Give me an example. Your peers. How can they affect your social environment? Go ahead.
Alright, so let's say you have like 3 or 4 guys, like they next to each other on scaffolds and they just talking, and like they like, man, that little safety Nazi man, you told me this. Like they just get to discussing and they go all negative talk.
Good.
So the peer evaluation commits up the social environment for the other workers.
Excellent. Yes. Okay. All amongst themselves, and I didn't know anything about it, right? This guy telling me to wear this, and he's totally wrong. A safety idiot don't know what he's talking about. Damn Nazi, I don't know why he's telling me all this stuff. So they could become a problem area. And I would have to look for that problem area when I go around. So your peer environment can affect your social environment. Everybody got me? Okay? And they can go off-site, which becomes a social environment, and talk about it. Or worse, these days, you're on top of a scaffold, and I get this from guys who are in the field these days. You got challenges I never had to deal with when I was going through. But guys can be on top of a scaffold, not tied off, safety Nazi coming your way, and they say that and then they get all geared up before I get over there. Or, safety Nazi's gone, it's coming your way. So everybody de-gears on that, they take all their equipment off, and then on the other side of the building they put it back on. Because they're all shooting each other texts on their phone. And in the time that they're shooting those texts to each other, while they're walking, what could happen? You could fall. You could have an accident, okay? And this is something you got to deal with. Why is he so hard on cell phones? Why does Dr. Nick hate cell phones? Well, because first they took a picture of my test. That's why. Okay, but second, because I'm trying to tell you, this can reach out and touch you in the workplace in the worst way possible. Anybody see the video of the lady who was walking through the mall and fell into the fountain? I love that video. Man, you're a safety pro. You're supposed to be shocked. Not when you're being an idiot and you're walking and you're texting and you fall, as my dad would say, forgive me internet, ass over tea kettle into the fountain. There's no way to look cool after that. You don't recover from that. She's shaking and all that off and your cell phone's in the water. Well, you know what you should have done? Put the phone down and look where you were walking, because you'll start walking into stuff, literally. And on a construction site, could that get you killed? Yeah. So that's a big deal in terms of the cell phone. So they can all affect each other. Individual has problems at home, many times does cause that highly motivated employee or grieving because of the funeral process or whatever, to be less conscious or safety conscious at a productive work, I should say. Illustrating the complexity of this issue, let's look at problem employees really quickly, okay? Many times you have a problem employee who doesn't like their job. When they reassign them and you suggest that to management, that worker becomes a different individual. If I got an old guy with a bunch of young guys, they may be griping at him because he ain't going fast enough. He's trying to tell us all what to do. If I got a young guy with a bunch of old guys, same thing in reverse. If I pull a switch between the two crews, could they get along better? Yeah. I can't usually make those decisions, but I can suggest them to management, especially if they're general laborers. I can usually do that. And if they're not arguing, what happens to the risk? It goes down, okay? It doesn't go away, but it does go down. So I do have an ulterior motive here. I'm always thinking, if these guys, first of all, if they're arguing, are they liable to hit or shoot each other? Workplace violence, active shooter trainings. I've been through 4, okay? In terms of that, it's a real problem. That's another problem you guys got to deal with that wasn't as prevalent as it was when I was in 91. It wasn't as prevalent as it is right now. I heard about another one on the news this week, workplace shooting. It happens, okay? So in terms of that, when you reassign them, they become revitalized, and you sometimes neutralize those problems. Does that make sense? Okay? In other words, a microenvironment can potentially have a positive effect on those, so you suggest those changes before you reprimand them, okay? In doing any of that stuff. Now, I want you to know for the test what's tangible and intangible. I want you to know the difference between those two words, okay? Anything can be touched is tangible, tools. Intangible, which is not in your book, is anything that can't. That's how you feel about the safety pro, okay? Safety managers should strive to develop a working environment where the majority of workers will be motivated. I didn't say everybody, because not everybody's going to like safety no matter what. True? So you don't expect to be the most popular belle at the ball, as they would say in the South, okay? Not positively motivated to perform. You have to make them want to be positively motivated to perform, okay? And those feelings about the safety manager, they change a lot, okay? And you got to try to work on that environment heavily. That's why we're talking about this right now. Tangible and intangible factors comprise the whole motivational environment. Something tangible, moving piece of equipment, PPE, that type of stuff, changing it, letting them have a say. And I have a whole lecture on that, but we don't have time to get to it. If you just, well, I'll do it in a quick version. If I give you one choice of boot and one choice of shoe to wear in your factory or on your construction site, how happy is everybody going to be? Mailman black, period. Nah. If I give you a variety to choose from, do I have more likely people who are going to participate in the actual steel-toed shoe boot program? Yes. To end that quick example, I have a long story that goes along with it, we don't have time. When I worked for Mobil Chemical Corporation this week, my boss said, okay, he's from Italy. First thing we have to do is get you the safety shoes. What do you want? I said, can you match that? Because I'm a Reebok freak. I love that Reebok. In my opinion, it's the best shoe ever created on earth. Dr. Jones says I'm out of style. I said, I don't care. Because it's the most comfortable shoe I've ever seen. He says, yes, we can. Pulls me into the mobile chemical room, which is they've got one person there who does nothing but hand out safety boots and shoes for that plant. And when you walk in, I'm not talking about a little safety room. It's like you took this wall right here and you stacked it on top of another one. That's the inventory. Why? Because we're connected to an oil company. We got money, okay? Second, it's like, which one do you want? Well, man, Wolverine. You got Wolverine boots here. I can't believe that. That was big when I was coming through. Now it's a different brand, but Wolverine. I'll take the Wolverines. So you give me the Wolverines. Literally. There you go. You want black? Wow, that's surprising. Nobody ever wants black. They want like puce and neon green and all these weird freaky colors, but there you go. Mailman black. Okay? And I was happy because obviously I kind of dig black. It's kind of, well, in terms of that, he gave me that, but you had a choice. So you know what? You could look at all the employees out on the line and see? You could see that every employee was wearing a shoe, just about. I mean, I very rarely saw, and it was usually because they forgot to put it on. Every employee was wearing those shoes. Make sense? Okay? Okay, so that's what we're talking about. In terms of making adjustments, you might have them, you have a different shoe or a different type of stuff to look for, and that flexibility needs to go out into the workplace. Don't show favoritism or it could destroy a good situation for the majority. Talk about that in a minute. Two factors vital in creating positive motivational environment are address those physical, tangible needs first. Get them the right tools. Get them the right shoes. Okay? In terms of that. Get them every single thing that they need to do the job right. Then it's their job to actually use it. True? Okay? Everybody with me? So, intangibles are next, and true false on your test. They are just as important as tangible needs, but are much more time consuming. Okay? Everybody got me? Okay? Any questions on that? We good? What's that mean? That means how you feel about the Safety Pro is harder to address than me swapping your shoes out for a color. True or false? In Mobile Chemical, I can swap shoes all day long. And in other companies, you may have trouble. And they may have different, we got 4 of them, that's all we can afford. You got to choose one of these, okay? But in terms of getting them to participate and wear them, that's something you got to worry about. Make sense? Okay? In terms of changing them and make them want to be safe, it takes more time to do that. So you got to work on that one pretty intensely. In terms of changing their feelings about wanting to be safe and wanting to be there. Everybody get that, because it's all over your test. That's why I'm going through it. And it can apply to general industry or construction. We good?
Well, I worked for a company
Right.
that made it to where you could only wear lace-up boots for supporting your ankles.
Well, I'm having to guess it had to do something with the work that you had to do that go over.
It was a fraction company.
Mhm. So were they trying to protect you and your ankles from getting something that slammed into them, like the rock that would come up or something like that?
It's unlevel, ground. It's got ruts all the time. And so
Right.
that was just their deal. Like they would spend up to $150, but you had to buy lace-up.
Okay. Now, you're talking about the company, or are you talking about the people would spend $150?
Company.
The company would. They knew that it was federal law that you got to spend $150, right? Okay, in terms of getting. I'm on board with that. Okay, and we used to do that. Now, we also used to have a program called payroll deductibles. We would do up to, back then it was like $50, $75, and then you want to go over that, then you have to do a payroll deduct because it's one of these fancy Red Wing or one of these fancy brands that you want. We have Choc, Mailman Black, the ones that I love the best. Once you go black, you never come back. That's the ones I want right there. Okay? In terms of those shoes, that's what I wanted. And he was cool with that. And I got back onto the job floor and it was awesome right after that. But in terms of the danger of that situation, they're forcing you to do that, and it can be related right back to company policy. They got to be so high and they got to be laced up over your ankles because we got rock flying everywhere in terms of what's going on. Make sense? Yeah. So yeah, I agree with that policy, and that's a good policy to do that. There's nothing illegal about that. Yeah. You go over it, you get fancier and fancier in terms of brand, then, it's not federal law that we have to give you the best boot. We got to give you a boot. That's what the law actually says. Make sense? Yeah. Good point. Excellent. Okay. So, Time consuming to address those. The challenges of changing intangibles could run a broad spectrum. To list just a few could be the following. Changing the way a person is treated by their peers, colleagues, supervisors. Helping an individual gain a positive perception environment around. Developing a new and positive attitude towards workplace safety, all those things, okay? Leads us to multiple choice on your test. 8 keys to motivating employees in a safety and health program. Explain. Clarify safety and health performance expectations, and consequently, this is actually, and I know consequences is up there, it's not what I'm saying, this is how I try to run my classes, actually by these 8 things. These things, I didn't even know it till I got this book in front of my face, were going through my head as I was walking the work site, the job site, every day. These things. Explain, this is what I want. You don't tie off. That's what he said in the actual video. Remember the video? You've seen it on the internet too. You gotta start tying off. Because if you don't tie off, you're going to start getting cited for it. Well, he's clear, right? You're going to start getting cited for it. When should you have started getting cited for it? Since the job's been going on long enough, I can see steel. Day 1, before the first bucket hit the ground. Okay? So in terms of that, you got to be clear. Every toolbox talk, general industry or in construction, be clear about what you're going to do. Start it on the first day. Involve people in decision making. The safety shoes, the boots. Let them have a choice, and they're more likely to participate. I got a million stories about that one, but I can't go on, we don't have time. Describe the consequences of unsafe safety and health performance. Let's ask him. The lace-up boots that you were talking about, Davies, did they have any kind of penalty if you didn't have those on when you were on site?
Yeah, it didn't work.
So they sent you home. Pretty clear. When did they tell you that? New hire orientation or, first day that you hired on, you know what it is and you know what's going to happen. That's when you tell them. Okay? That's consequences. Attitudinal safety and health goals. Hold on that thought. We're going to get into that, some of the stuff we passed around last time. And then provide feedback. And not just, you suck, tie off now. That's not the feedback that's going to get you a whole bunch of friends on a site. Here's what you need to do. I got a new hire here with me. I want you to walk the site with me. All you new hires, 4 or 5 at a time. Walk the site with me. We're going to walk around, look at different stuff. See up there. See this guy right up here named Jose Sanchez, right there. That guy, that was a real guy I worked with, incidentally. But he's up there. You see how he's tied off? Got his boots on. Got his safety glasses on. Got his hard hat on. That's the way that you all need to function. And he could hear me, and he knew I was pointing at him. But you know what he also knew? He's being recognized, excellent, and what else? He knew I wasn't pointing at him to get him in trouble. He knew I was pointing at him because we had talked before, and so I was pointing at him to do what?
Right on.
That's right. An attaboy will get you miles. An attagirl will get you miles, okay? Ahead of, you suck, tie off, okay? That is a bad deal. That's one strike. I'm on. Don't let me find another one. Now I got to do that here. Because some people think it's high school, and I didn't realize that until I started teaching, that they think that college is high school, but I got to correct that when I get here. In terms of when we're out there in the field, you can't do that, okay? Because it will undermine your effectiveness as a safety pro, and they will have it in for you. They'll be looking to string you up or blow you up or take you out behind and roll you around to break your coveralls in like they wanted to do for me. Okay, so you want to win them over and make them internally, true, false for your test. Motivation is internal or external? Internal. You want to make them want to be safe. Okay, that's the success, and that's a secret to that success. So, you give them feedback. He looks great. I want you to look like that every time you're on top of a scaffold. And he could hear me, and he knew what was going on, and he knew what was behind me doing that. Okay? Self-monitoring system. I have to brag on one company here, Flatiron Construction. I already told one student about it, I'll tell you guys. Had a guy who came into me. He said, Dr. Nick, can you help me with a scholarship application? I said, absolutely. Give it to me. I'll read it over, and we'll tweak it, and we'll send it in, and hopefully you'll get the money. Go out there and look for the scholarships, because it's free money, and you can get them. Lots of people have gotten over $7,000 from just writing stuff up and sending it in. This particular guy made out like bandit. Why do I say he made out like a bandit? We wrote up his scholarship, he sent it in, they brought him up for a tour, and they presented him with the scholarship check, which was like $7,000, $9,000, something like that. Covered all the rest of his school, Flatiron Construction Company. And he came back and he told me, Dr. Nick, you wouldn't believe this company. This company's awesome. I said, tell me, because I want to hear something positive about construction whenever I can. He says, I watched one guy, they had a big trench, like 10, 15 feet deep. They had the boxes and all the protection in place and the right stuff for the right type of soil. You already know a little bit about that. In terms of that, he said, Dr. Nick, I saw this guy jump down in there, and he started working, and the other guy just stopped and backed off. And he said, I ain't doing nothing. Why? What's the matter with you, man? He said, I ain't going to do nothing until you get your gear on. He forgot to put on a full body harness and then hook off to the tripod that they were in. You say, why are you doing that? Why would they have you hook off to a full body harness and wear a full body harness inside a trench?
Makes a way out.
That's right. In the event something goes wrong, we can pull you out. And the other employee refused to do work. All the employees were trained that way until the other employee got their safety gear on when they got in the trench. Make your job as a safety pro harder or easier? Much easier. That's self-monitoring, man. If you say, we're not working safe, or you come to me and say, Nick, this harness is not safe, can you get me another one? Oh, hell yes, there you go. Which one you want? I got different colors this week. Which one you want? And I'll give it to you. That's a self-monitoring system, is it not? And that takes a lot of this safety Nazi crap out of the equation. I hate you, but my wife loves you? What kind of site you running, man? That ain't the right way to do it. The right way to do it is to make them understand that all I want you to do is go home. If you hate your wife and don't want to see her, get a divorce. But don't try to jump off the building. That's what I'm saying. Because there's a safety thing, okay? In terms of safety, if you jump off, he's going to jump off. They're going to start a precedent because they hate their wives. No. Not the way to do it, okay? In terms of getting them to behave safely, you have to make them want to be there. Like this is the best place and the best environment for them to be in. If they feel that way before they get there, either in general industry or construction, your job as a safety pro is going to be much, much easier. Make sense? Okay? So that feedback's a big deal, and that self-monitoring as well. We enforce good safety and health performance. That can be done through money. That can be done through free gear, which is becoming more and more prevalent on the job site. That can be done a million different ways. Okay? You get paid lunch. They do that all the time at Kiewit. You get paid lunch at this fancy restaurant, fancy schmancy, and I don't care if you're tracking mud in or not, we've already talked to them. They're going to clean it up, and you can have a steak, you can have whatever you want. Or you get a paid dinner, free dinner cards, whatever it is. That's a safety incentive program, it's borderline. But if you want to do that, you reward it just for attaboys, out of the blue, not trying to get TRIRs down, total recordable incident rate down. Okay? If you just reward it, then you're actually reinforcing that behavior, just out of the blue from nowhere. I like to call it random acts of kindness. Okay? If you do that, you'll get a hell of a lot further. Go ask any of our alumni than you will for saying, you suck and I'm going to write you up right now. Everybody with me? Okay? Now, the developer reward system goes right along with that, and that gets into the monopoly we talked about before. I'm not going to hit that too hard because we already talked about it. So, you do the best you can for each person. Each person's going to make the decision whether they're going to be safe or not. The reason each worker should know the consequences of each unsafe performance is because of that. Only develop a mechanism that you're going to have to use when you need it, but have it on paper, because if you don't have how you're going to discipline on paper, what does OSHA think about it? Did not happen. Legal liability people tell you that. Don't be afraid to enforce. Hey, 6'7" guy, you got to tie off. You and what Army's going to make me, boy. Yeah, if I had a dime for every time that I had heard that line, I wouldn't be doing this job. I'd be out on, sailing Malibu or somewhere like that. And instead, here I am, working for the state of Oklahoma. Because they don't pay me when they insult me on site, okay? And the reason that happened is because I wanted him to tie off. And I came up to him, not afraid to enforce. Did I have to be prepared to duck? Yes. Not quack, quack, duck. I mean, get down, because he's swinging, okay? And sometimes you got to move. If you're in a bad environment, you got to choose your environment carefully. Choose your company wisely. When you enforce, be prepared for the consequences of that enforcement. But you've got to not be afraid to enforce. If you just walk on there and everything looks okay to me, everybody's going to be fine. Ah! Wasn't that fine? Okay? You don't enforce, you deal with the consequences. I hate to pull the video up again, but Mr. Ralph Hall in the video, been walking a beam since 1955, 2 times in his life. He's gone had to go to people's houses. It's usually safety and the plant manager, or the plant manager doesn't want anything to do with it, or the construction manager, and just sends safety. That's what I've heard in my experience. And you got to make the death notification. That sucks. That sucks bad. You know what even sucks worse? Making it over the phone. But it's been done. Depends on the company that you're at. Okay? So in terms of getting your people to buy in that you care about them, you got to enforce, and you got to tell them why you enforce before that ever happens. Make sense? Okay? Let them know the consequences and what you're going to do. But before the first bucket from that excavator hits the ground, before that first stake is driven, circling off the site, then in terms of what you got to do, they have to know the consequences and why you're there. And it's not just to write them up. Okay? Everybody got it? And we're going to dive deeper on that later. There's no one enforcing the speed limit. Who's going to follow it? I'm not even going to ask who didn't follow it coming here today. But anyway, in terms of, okay, 4 fundamental principles of working with people, how you work with them. Individuals view themselves as special. All of them. They all think they can do something well. That includes people who are on a production line. That includes people who are on a construction site. Okay? I can get anything. I am the gopher, but I'm the best and fastest gopher on this site. The minute that they say they need it, I have it here in 5 minutes or less. And I'm not trying to be anything more than a gopher. I've worked with a million guys like that. They're good guys. They just know that that's what they do good, and they want to do their best at it. Okay? So what you want to do is praise, respect, responsibility, delegate authority, promotion, recognition, bonuses, which management sometimes gives for safe performance. Sometimes too much in my opinion, but they do give them. Raises add to their feelings of high self-esteem and need to be considered when you structure that environment. Okay? If they're not going to respond to more money, or if they're not going to respond to prizes, and I'd really rather not use either one of those. I'd rather use a system I'm going to show you here at the tail end of this chapter. I'd rather them want to be safe because it's the right thing to do. That will lead to the bonuses that we get at the end of the job. Make sense? Okay? All those bonuses pile up. If I'm handing them out to you while the job's going on, that's lessening the bonus that you're going to get at the end of the job. That's one way I explained it to them. You perform safely, we get bigger money at the end. That motivated some, and it demotivated others. Understand? Do you know what I'm saying? Okay? Instead of criticism, positive approaches. That's what our students do, that are the most successful ones out there. Individuals usually react well when you praise them, but not always. Huh! Jose, look at you, man. He thinks you're the most awesome one. You're like the safety favorite. You always got one of those in the crowd. And you got to deal with that. That negative element is in there, and be prepared to deal with it constructively. And I'll tell you, I'll give you some tools as we get to the end of this. Not all of them respond by a long shot that way. But in terms of dealing with them, you have to deal with them in the best way possible. Praise in public, and you punish in the film. You on the internet should have seen it too. When he was trying to pull the guy aside, what was the guy doing? Trying to walk away. Why am I trying to walk away? You're embarrassing me in front of the whole crew. And I got no chance to save face. You gotta wear a harness. Okay, thanks for making me look stupid. Okay? And then he did the worst thing. He let him on site with a body belt. Now what's going to happen? Who knows? Maybe he falls and breaks his back. Maybe he falls and hits somebody else and breaks 2 backs. Okay? We don't know what's going to happen. First thing I got to do is I got to address that. And I got to say, hey man, come to the side. And then you walk up, like I told you guys, I think a while back, with a brand new harness. And that brand new harness gets attention. Where'd you get that? Well, that's a fancy harness. I got it from that guy. He just handed them out. Yeah, because when I buy in gross, it's more expensive. True or false? It's false. Company cuts a deal with Miller Fall Protection or DBI Solid like you saw in a film. We buy 1,000 harnesses of all different varying sizes. And we give them out on site all day long. Run from small to extra large because our workers run from small to extra large. Okay? And we all give them out. Regular basis. If you got a bad harness, come see me. I'll get you a good one. That word got around. And they all had good harnesses. Did they all tie off? Mostly yes, in the good one that I was working for, MK Ferguson, who don't even exist anymore as far as I know. It bought out years ago. But they were good about giving them good safety equipment and good about tying them off because they gave them the tools to work with in the first place. Make sense? Okay? And that would usually have the effect of positively motivating the other workers. Where can I get one? Right here. I'm your man. It's in the back of my truck. What you need. Make sense? Okay? So that's what you want to do. Now, in other words, I say you're in big caps. You praise in public and you necessarily criticize in private. You try to get good people and you try to train them well. But then you leave them the hell alone and let them do their job. Okay? When you don't do that, in terms of where you're working, that's known as micromanaging. Has anybody in here ever worked at a job where you were micromanaged? Anybody want to talk about it? Tell me any story. Doesn't matter what it is. Be brave. Tell me anything.
I've had service managers, I'm a mechanic. and
Right.
Golly, just walking out there, what are you doing? What are you working on?
Uh-huh.
You know, just let me do my job. They'll come out, they'll get something that somebody's called a bitch about.
Right.
And they'll put it on my bench and say, do this next, and then I'll do that 3 more times the same day.
And then, did you do that? Did you do that thing that I told you? Okay. How'd that make you feel?
Maybe like I didn't know what I was.
Exactly. Anybody else been micromanaged? Want to talk about it real quick? Anybody? Throw it out there. Come on. I'm going to hold this till you get some more. At least one more.
Whenever I was in the Army, I
Go
had a senior leader who
Right.
basically took my
Quiet
team
down.
away from me.
Senior what? I'm sorry.
Senior leader, he
Okay.
basically took the team away by undermining everything that was said at my level.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't do anything, we couldn't operate without his approval.
Okay.
So my guys would just bypass asking me, they'd just go straight to him.
Exactly.
And then I would get in trouble for not handling small issues.
And how'd that make you feel?
Like a crap leader.
Exactly. Like I'm not doing my job right, so they're going to go to my boss because they think he's doing his job right, and I know this little college-looking idiot ain't doing his job. Big, in your case, big, you're taller than me. Big, tall guy ain't doing his job right. I'm going to go around it. That safety manager, he keeps jumping me. I hate that fact that he keeps jumping me. Do something about it. Same thing. I've had it happen to me a million times. I've had it happen in this job. Students go around me to the chair, and then we see whose story matches when the chair gets here. And it's usually mine is the one that wins because I have not seniority. Seniority ain't got nothing to do with it. It's documentation that has something to do with it, okay? When you're micromanaged, oh, I see you have your harness on, but it's not precisely at a 45-degree angle and you're not exactly in the D-ring. You're about a centimeter off in the middle of your back. You know what you're going to get? The hell beat out of you when you leave. That's exactly what you're going to get. When you micromanage people, what you make them feel is extremely SMO, small, right? Okay? And you're not going to win the respect and make them want to be safe by micromanaging them on the job. There are other ways. There's a lot of other ways to actually successfully manage the safety of people and have them get on board with the safety program. And we'll give you the tools to do that when we come back. Make sense? Take off. Take it up from there next time.